Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Sunday, December 29th, and we are here talking about you and your money and your financial goals. And we are trying to help you figure out different ways to achieve those goals. But you can only figure that out if you get in touch with us. Go to our website, jillonmoney.com. Click the Contact Us button. And of course, check the box if you'd like to join us on the air live. And as a reminder, this is our final Sunday broadcast, unless there is some crazy breaking news over a weekend. Mark and I have decided to conclude our weekend episodes unless, again, there's something wacky going on. So we really appreciate you guys hanging in with us 7 days a week. We're going to 5 days a week, like normal people. Today, we are airing the second part of our interview with Joe Saul-Sehy. He is a podcaster. He is an author. His podcast is called Stacking Benjamins. It's really great. You should check that out. And we are going to talk about how different kinds of big financial firms are offering planning services and whether or not they're worth it. Here is the second part of our interview with Joe Saul-Sehy. What do you think of those advisory services offered through the big guns, like 30 bips, 30 basis points from Vanguard, or the Fidelity, whatever they do for their Fidelity Advisor, or the Schwab one? You're not into it.
I like it. I think
you would do this.
Well, I think it's a place to start. But let me tell you what I'm looking for. Rather than answer that question, let me answer the question I want to answer.
Oh, hello, political person.
Which is,
hello, Senator.
How do I get advice that works for me? And the thing that I think works for me before any of this stuff is, how do I mesh with that person? Do they really have my back? Like for me, Jill, I like working with a Gordon Ramsay personality. I want you to fight with me. I want to know that you love me and you're on my team, but I want you to look at me and go, Joe, why are you stepping in it? Really? How am I stepping in it? Well, because you're doing this and this like that. Why would you do that? And I think for that, you need more of a relationship. This is the only thing that I don't like, is that if I call a Vanguard or a Fidelity, it's very difficult for me. They're servicing a lot of people. It's very difficult for me to have that relationship where I call Jill Schlesinger. She knows exactly who I am.
But that's an expensive product.
It is
and
an
service,
expensive product.
Okay, so
but I want to work toward that if I can.
Okay, but if you're starting out and you're using the robo and you're just doing what you need to do, and then there's people who are listening to our shows call us and ask us, and they say, I think I'm ready to now graduate into financial planning, right?
Yeah.
This happened to me just recently at work. And this is somebody who has, let's call it $500,000 in a 401k and like 150 grand in another account. And guess what? Nobody wants that client.
Right. Right.
And that person's this person's making good money. So what is that? We have a gap in the people who really would like advice that's affordable, and that kind of customized fiduciary relationship advice that people want. Those people cannot afford to take the client who only has 150 grand to manage.
They can't. It doesn't work out for them. I think this burgeoning, kind of new, fee-only, hourly advice is really what you're looking for. Pay me a set fee, X amount per hour. I can come back and see you a couple of years from now, or if 6 months from now something comes up, like I can just pay you by the hour.
Yep.
I think that is where those people need to be.
Okay, so let's talk about that person. So now I have this person who's got, let's call it again, $500,000 in retirement, 150 in a brokerage account, making $500,000 a year in a big city like this, which by the way is like the working rich of New York City, $500,000 a year. Everyone complains, I don't make enough money.
That's because your rent is through the roof.
Yeah, exactly. So that person, what should that person be paying for, let's just say, a financial plan? Now, when you talk to a fee-only planner who's going to take that client on, they're like minimum 10 grand. Or, okay, I'm going to do a financial plan.
I don't start here. I start with, does this person mesh with me?
Okay, let's say you find the person who meshes with you, but then people are not going to do it.
Number two then, Jill, is what do I get? If I hire you, because as you know, you got advisor over here, you got advisor over here. And for people just listening to the audio of this, I just have my arms really wide. When you have that, it's impossible, because the first question we've all been trained to ask is, what do you charge? And that's not the first thing. If I walk into a car dealership and I'm like, how much is the car? And I haven't looked at a car, well, you think that's ridiculous. The first thing I need to know is, what are you going to do for me?
Okay,
and then I calculate the ROI.
Okay,
right?
Let's just play this out. I'm the client. I'm your person. I've got my, again, I make $500,000 a year. I have $150,000 in a brokerage account at name the company, Fidelity, Schwab, whatever, Vanguard. And I have $500,000 in my work 401k that nobody can manage. It's, I can get advice on it, but no one's going to touch it, right? And now I want someone to help me create a financial plan. I'm the client. You're the prospective advisor.
Gotcha.
All right, ready?
Yes.
So I need financial advice. This is getting too much for me. I have 2 kids. I just got divorced. I'm hitting the wall, and I just need someone to put me on the right track.
This is fabulous. I love this game because the first thing is if they begin with product and not process, you need to run.
Okay.
So the first thing you're looking for, Jill, is somebody sitting across the table from you that's going to talk about process. And to know anything about process, they can't start off with what they're going to sell you. They have to ask more probing questions. So the first thing I'm looking for is, so Jill, tell me more about that. Exactly where's it gone off the rails for you?
Okay. So I'm going to just,
yes.
I just feel overwhelmed. I'm working really hard and I got my hands full. I got these 2 kids. I have an ex. We have an amicable divorce, but now I'm worried about putting the kids through college, my own retirement. I just can't, I have got to hand the reins over. I cannot do this myself. And I just went to talk to another advisor and they had a $2 million minimum and I can't meet that minimum.
Sure. And if they say, oh, you've less than $2 million, I'm out of here, obviously the conversation's over.
Right.
But what I'm looking for next, this is actually something really cool that I started doing back when I was an advisor that really worked. I did it for my own stuff, and then I realized it worked so well, I started doing it with clients. Mm-hmm. I would say, Jill, you know what? You've so many priorities that are competing right now. I don't know how you're not overwhelmed. So the fact that you are, just look at all these things you told me are going on. It helps a lot if we put this out visually. So let's draw up a timeline of when all these different goals you have are going to take place. So here you are, and I'll take a just piece of regular typing paper, draw a stick person on one end, that's Jill, draw a long line across that paper, and on the other end, hopefully a long, long time from now, Jill passes away. And then I start putting these milestones. Okay, kids' college, tell me about those. Those are going to happen here. How do you want to handle that? Do you want to pay for all their college? How do you feel about college? How's that work in your family? And then we draw circles there. Now, you talked about saving for retirement. When do you see yourself retiring? What does that look like? I draw another big, huge bag of money further toward, or maybe they're at the same time. What's amazing that happens is when I timeline these out against each other, I start seeing these circles intersect and I go, there's your friction. Look at, and maybe you've thought about it, but most of the time my client hadn't thought about it. They're like, I never realized that I want to retire when my kid's a junior in college.
Right.
There's a lot there. And then we go to cash flow today where it feels like it's really tight. So my next question, I get all these goals out. I get the thing going on with your ex out right here. We look at your cash flow now, and then I start drawing lines back to today. And then I ask you, have you ever looked at what do we need to do today to make this goal a reality, this goal a reality, and this goal a reality? And what's cool is when we bake all these together, well, I don't even like the baking analogy. Let's do a different one I like better. We throw them in an MMA arena like it's a cage match.
I liked the baking better.
I like
to be honest with
I like
you.
the MMA better. Let me tell you why. Because all these goals often don't survive, and we have these wonderful discussions about values. If I had been thinking about the money in financial planning and not thinking about my life and what I value, I'd still be a financial planner today.
Right.
Because the money was really starting to get good.
Right. The money would be better in that. But if you're in this situation where you're the client, I'm the would-be client, at some point you're going to make the turn, right?
Sure.
We're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to feel like I'm falling in love with you because everyone falls in love with you, Joe.
Thank you.
You know that.
Stop.
What happens when you say to me, I'd love to help you out. I would like to charge you by the hour because it doesn't feel like this is like a really, I want to get you on track.
Yeah.
And I think people feel like they would love to have that, but there aren't that many people who are doing hourly financial planning.
There's not.
So how, so I think this is actually the friction in people getting the start because they feel like everybody who wants me and who I really like, those are the people, the Joes who have $2 million minimums. And when you tell me, I don't know, what do financial planners charge by the hour now? $500 an hour?
Yeah, but between $250 and $500 usually.
Okay, so so if we say $375 an hour, it's going to be 10 hours of work to do a real financial plan and meet up and right? Am I going to pay the $4,000 or not?
Well, here's the deal. We get to sales and go back to our sales discussion we had, I know as a prospective advisor at that point whether they can afford it or not and where the money comes from. And it's my job with superior sales skills to tell you, go, Jill, I charge X amount of money per hour, $375 an hour.
Yep.
I think this is going to take 10 hours. And I know you're doing the math right now. That's $3,750. That's not a little bit of money.
Right. You're freaking.
Here's how I think, number one, we make that back. And then I show you on paper. I think there is fat in this area. I think we can trim this. I think we can take care of this. So I think
you're kind of finding the money to justify the expense in the mind of the person who's sitting here.
And I want to justify to myself too, because I don't want to be an anchor.
Right.
Like that would always suck.
Right. It's also like that. It's always a little bit weird. Like when you talk to somebody who's in an hourly kind of profession, like a legal profession, right? And you're like, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to hang on the phone too long with this person. Right. You know, and you want to build a relationship. But I think that is where I think that's a really tough thing. I'm kind of hopeful that with the advent of more technology that we're not in the profession, but the profession can do a better job kind of getting some of the granular information out without the actual hourly firepower you need. Like it used to be when we did a financial plan, it really did take 10 hours.
It did, right.
Right? And you were sitting there with your HP 12C banging out the calculations yourself. And then, then we have formulas and then we have programs and now we have AI maybe that can help us take in client information, create the plan. It then what we're paying for is this relationship, is this understanding of who I am.
Right.
And I think that we're not there yet. That's my fear, is that we're not there yet.
The cool news is, I don't know about for you, but in my job, we were just talking about this last week. In my job, just planning out shows, planning out Stacking Benjamins, I use AI a ton more than I used to.
Tell me how.
I use it to help me with, what should we title this? How should my show notes look? So AI does something really well and it does something very poorly. If I ask it for the exact title of my show, as an example, it's horrible. I have to give it a lot of parameters. I've already fed it. This is the Stacking Benjamins avatar. This is what we're after. I want to appeal to these people, and what would they like from all this stuff that's in the transcript about my show? Give me 10 of them.
I think that using that is kind of cool. Listen, I know people who I work with at CBS who are trying to do it with scripts, where they're trying to sort of give me a basic outline of a script. But I don't think it works very well on that level yet.
I totally agree.
But I mean, look, I think the part of the job that you and I have that is so much fun is that we're voyeurs. We like people. We just do. And that is the magic that occurs on a podcast where you feel like if somebody is talking to another person and they actually enjoy talking to that person and they're trying to give you guardrails and guidelines and they're talking to interesting people and bringing those people to you. That is the beauty of what we do. And thank God I don't think AI can replace us just yet. They may for you long term. I mean, I'm closer to the end than...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Your show's so wooden, Joe.
Yeah.
They could clearly replace you.
No, but more like that it'll be better.
The place that AI really works is to save me time in areas that it just doesn't matter, not in the front end stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, we did a story a couple of weeks ago about how Google and Bing are now volunteering the wrong information up top. You know how up top now?
Yeah.
And with finance especially, it's giving you the wrong thing. And the reason is, for people out there that don't know this, is that especially with the new law that passed, let's say there's a new IRS rule that passed.
Yep.
And so the new IRS rule, brand new, what AI is doing is it's just looking at the entire internet and going, okay, probability. 90% of the internet says it's this number, which is the old number.
Yep.
And only a little bit says the new number. So it hasn't been trained enough. This is a jagged edge. And it'll very confidently tell you something that's 100% wrong.
If you've got a financial question about whether you should be using a financial advisor or a robo or something else, maybe you just want to do it yourself, give us a holler. Go to JillOnMoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and complete the form. If you want to join us live, check the box. Mark does everything else. Don't forget to sign up for the free weekly newsletter, and you can subscribe to us on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Don't forget to do something nice for someone else today. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.